Hello, and welcome to One Voice Live, where we talk about One Voice, what it is, and how it fits into the world of singing. I'm your host, Alex Zeto, and this is our very first show using YouTube Live, which we are so excited about. So make sure you subscribe to our channel here, as well as follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And please send in your questions. We love to answer your questions about singing and One Voice, and you can do that by DMing us on any of those platforms. And finally, if you want to know more about One Voice, what we're all about, or get started with your One Voice journey, you can visit our website at singonevoice.com. So let's jump in. Today, we are doing a vocal translating show, which is where we take potentially confusing words or phrases from the conventional world of singing, and we translate them into our One Voice language to better understand what they are. And the word that we're translating today is support. What does it mean to support as a singer? And to translate this with me today, I'm being joined by creator of One Voice, Michael Maresca.
Woo!
Hello, Michael. Are you ready to translate some support?
Man, I'm ready to translate some support. Am I ever ready to support this topic?
Woohoo! That was awful. That was terrible.
Questionable.
Yeah, questionable.
Sorry to everyone. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's start over. Okay, so I'm going to read a few quotes I found today about support, which we'll dig into a bit more later. But support is a way of using other body parts, e.g. muscles, connected to the work of the lungs and larynx to produce the desired result, including better tone production and the ability to sing extended phrases and sustain notes for longer. So that's the first chunk, the idea of using other muscles in your body to support your voice and attain a different sound. And the second quote that I found really interesting was, for any given pitch or dynamic, there is a range of optimal breath flow and vocal cord resistance. When these two forces are balanced, support has been established. During healthy singing, the diaphragm is kept active by singing on the gesture of an inhale.
Ooh, on the gesture of an inhale.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So, any questions about those, Michael? Or is that pretty clear?
That's very clear.
Good.
Obviously. Yeah, that's very clear. The gesture of the inhale is interesting. The idea of better tone production, how, and muscles, which ones are we talking about? I think one of the closest or the clearest thoughts or ideas of someone trying to really close the gap is saying that there's an optimal or an appropriate amount of airflow and vocal cord resistance, as it were, to produce a pitch. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if there's an optimal one. I just think that there's a range of them to hit a pitch. So it's questionable. It's questionable in terms of what's the aim. Like when you say support, what am I really trying to achieve when you say the word support?
Totally.
And I think that's where that gets a little confusing. So there it is. There it is.
Awesome. So Michael, let's start out with a scenario. I'm going to be your teacher. You're going to be a singer. And you're going to sing a cut of something, and then I'm going to give you a direction. Okay?
Very excited. Very excited.
Right. What are you going to sing for me today?
I am Michael, and today I'm going to be singing. I'll be singing "Amazing Grace." How sweet the sound.
Beautiful. Whenever you're ready.
Name it. Okay. Meow meow meow. Okay. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved.
Michael, may I you?
Yes.
Really, really beautiful and vulnerable. Would you? There's something I'd love to give you a note. I really want a bit more support from you.
Oh, okay.
So if you could think about your feet in the ground, digging in the ground as branches, and breathe from the lower part of your lungs and use that to support the sound.
Okay, so feet.
Mm-hmm.
Meow, meow, meow. Mm-hmm. Feet, lower lungs. Amazing grace, how sweet grounded roots, the sound that saved a wretch like me. More? More of this?
You know what? That's great. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you.
Was that what you wanted?
Yes.
Is that what you were looking for?
That was, thank you so much. And scene.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
did I do it right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Please leave.
I was channeling your the table at your audition that we talked about last week. That's what I was channeling.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so before we dig into why support is confusing, Michael, what was your experience before One Voice when it came to support?
I think with support, what happened for me most of the time is I got it in choir, and then when I started doing more solo singing, people would refer to it in critiques that I would get at I did something called oh my gosh, I think it's called Allstate now, Allstate Choir in Texas when I was a kid, and I was singing solo things that I didn't know. Yeah, I had no idea what I was singing. I didn't know what the words were. I didn't know anything, but I was just singing. And then I always get these critiques back that would say, like, almost literally most people would be like, cool, they didn't know what else to say. They're like, really nice singing. Make sure you support, or try supporting more, or support better. Remember, always support. And so it was never like anyone explained that. It was just like support. And it's kind of this word that for me growing up, we used all the time. Mm-hmm. But no one explained it except everyone pretended to know what it meant. It's kind of like a weird language that people might use, and then everyone assumes that everyone understands what it means, but actually no one understands what it means. But now it's been around too long, so people feel dumb if they say they don't know what it means. So that was my experience growing up with it, is that it was a pretty vague term that was used often. And I remember particularly in choir, they would say, baritones, you're going a little flat, make sure you support. So I thought, what does support mean? What does support mean? And I'm sure I talked to my friends. And so I think what most people think of when they think of the word support, or how they try and translate that for their own how to take action on that, mm-hmm. is they look at it from the vantage point of being something that means more air. And so what I'll do is I will push more air. So then what I did is I would say, all right, well, I'm going to support better now. And so what I will do is now I will push more air. So amazing grace. Okay, support better. Amazing grace. And they say, you're not relaxing. I was like, oh, very sorry. I mean, relax. No, Michael. You need to be on your voice. Okay. You're not relaxing. Oh my gosh. Make sure support. And so I would get stuff like that because I just had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. And I'm sure that people are like, it's funny because I'll do this example sometimes when people bring it up in master classes. And I do that example, and then you get what's amazing is you see people sitting in the audience and they're like, now, Michael, now you're just being silly. Come on, get your voice in line. And I say, guys, this is what most people go through. This is what most people experience, is that we tell them this, and it's so vague that they just try and do something. And if they're lucky, it makes a change in the direction that the person who gave them that direction was asking for. But otherwise, it's like super confusing for us, Yeah. So yeah, that was mainly my connection with that. And I would go back to my teachers or whatever, and they'd say, well, you just need you got that note from that critique, note on your critique, and what you needed is you really just need to sing from here, sing from your diaphragm. And they'd always put their hand on their stomach, and of course now in the world of One Voice, if you were to cut yourself open behind your hand down here, what you would find is intestines, is the stomach, all that stuff. Diaphragm sits much higher up in underneath the rib cage, and it's very difficult to get to. In fact, for those of you at home right now who are interested in super nerdy and maybe a little wild in the mind, like me, you can take fingers. If you can get to your rib cage, you can actually take your fingers and curl up underneath, and you'll touch your diaphragm, which I wouldn't. And so if you miss that, I wouldn't recommend that for the faint of heart, taking your fingers up and curling up on your ribcage. But what you will feel is you will feel or touch your diaphragm and almost feel like the same sensation of someone almost knocking the wind out of you, because that's the muscle that spasms when you get a ball or something hits you in the stomach and you can't breathe. The reason you can't breathe is because the muscle's kind of frozen for a second. But anyways, that was, go.
Yeah, so while we're on this, Michael, can we talk a little bit about why people say singing from the diaphragm and what that means in our one voice world? Can we debunk that a little bit?
Yeah, I think in most cases when people talk about singing from the diaphragm, they will also or often pair together with that the person is singing from the throat, right? So if we take a side look at someone like this and they're going, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. And they say, oh, you're singing from the throat. Well, why would they say that? Probably because they see the tension, they see the external musculature, the strain, as it were. But one of the things that most of the time people seem to overlook or we've erased from the world of singing is to actually look at this work, what's going on in here. So what we say is we say, well, if everything down here is working well, then this is going to work well. So what we'll do instead is, what I'm going to is the classic term is to tell you to support. So you need to support better. You need to be better at your breathing. And then it will fix all of this, right? But if the brain has patterned that the way it's going to get to a note is going to be shoving a lot of air, you're going to have a really hard time getting better at that, because that's what the brain and the body want to do. You're also going to struggle if, for example, as they're going up, like me, if they're not actually increasing their weight or increasing their vocal cord intensity. If they're not doing that, then what we're going to have is we're going to have someone who has what I call like a leaky bottle. I don't have a water bottle on me right now, but just a regular water bottle. But if you're at home and you have a regular water bottle with you, what you can do is you can look at the top of it, screw the top on, take the bottle, flip it over, and squeeze it. One of the things you'll notice that there's no water coming out of the bottom. Why? What controls the flow of water in and out of that bottle? It is the cap itself. If the cap is loose, it doesn't matter how kind or how forceful you are with that bottle, it is going to leak water regardless. And so one of the things I think that we've kind of overlooked in many ways in the world of singing is the larynx and is the vocal cords. And so I think what gets confusing is that people are looking for a clear sound, I think, and that's often what you described earlier, I think, is when they're like, and then you are producing a clear, solid tone or whatever. It's that idea of creating a sound that doesn't sound breathy. And even a breathy sound in our world is not a bad sound. It's just a different weight. It's kind of understanding where it lives. And so I think that's where it gets really confusing for people, because it actually can mean multiple things. You're not giving enough air. You're not pushing enough air. You're pushing too much air. Your vocal cords are not at a high enough intensity to deal with the air that you have. So it's just this like really like weird mush pot. Instead, I think what we can ask as one voicers, and all of you listening, I think you by now are starting to catch on to this and are smarter to this. And that what your job is to then dig deeper with the person who's giving you that direction and to say, hey, like, what is it that you're asking of me? What do you want in terms of a sound? Well, I want you to support it better. Okay, thank you. But would you like a clearer sound? What kind of sound do you want it to be like? Who do you want it to sound like? So that's where I'd say we could go. And I'm curious, Alex, in your world, growing up, what your experience was with people, now that we're on it, I'm curious what your experience was with people telling you, particularly when you were singing your classical stuff too, support more, give it better support from the diaphragm, support from below. How you translated that. One, what did that turn out to be when they said that? Then you would do X. And then two, how did you utilize that later on when you were working on belting high or singing with a heavyweight loud high?
What's interesting is I actually don't remember people talking to me about support in choir or in my classical stuff.
Lucky.
Never, yeah, it didn't come up for me. It only came up for me in belting.
Nice.
Yeah, and I remember, and I could be misremembering that, but there's this one instance that is like so fresh in my mind where I got up in a master class and I was singing. I was, I think, maybe like a sophomore in college or something,
Yeah.
and this teacher, I was singing some belty song, and the teacher came over and as I was singing was digging their fingers into my lower abdomen and being like, more from here, from here, from here. I was like bruised. They were like, from here. And I
Oh,
remember thinking like, I was panicked because I was like, I wish you would stop. And
I have. Yeah.
I have to pee. And I had no idea what to do. So I ended up squeezing more. I shortened my vocal tract even more, which I think was the opposite of what they wanted. And got like even, I think probably pushed more air out as well.
That's
And
amazing.
what I think they wanted, because I was already a fairly heavy weight, I think they wanted a longer vocal tract again, like we talked with full voice. I think they just wanted like a beefier sound, and to them, support would have given the sound that they wanted.
Should have. Mm,
Yeah,
mm.
but now
That's
knowing, I think they just wanted a little more space for like a that or a yellier sound, even maybe a distorted vowel.
uh,
Yeah,
yeah, and this like goes back to like the concept, the one voice concept of shaping versus creating, and how we often confuse those two in the world. Most of the time, those things are getting meshed together, and they're just not the same, right? I could give you a distorted vowel. Do you want me to change my weight, or do you want me to distort the vowel, or do you want me to change my weight to something lighter or heavier, or is it in balance? Like
yeah,
it can just be so much clearer.
and that's the thing.
Go.
Support, I feel like, is a troubleshooting term for so many different
Mm.
things. It is for weight, it is for volume, it is for vocal tract shaping, it's for vibrato. But because it's just this like catch-all phrase that we use, it can be so confusing.
I have to say something about that. I have to add to that. This makes me think of, this is something one day that I've said this, and it's funny because Marquis, my partner, she'll tell me, she'll say, Michael, it's always something. And I was like, one day I want to learn about allergies because I think it's a catch-all phrase and I think it doesn't make any sense. And I think we can do better with allergies. And it's funny because it's one of those things that like you have a sniffly nose and someone's like, it's allergies. You have a cold, it's allergies. You have nausea, it's allergies. Your eyes are melting out of your face, it's allergies. Like whatever it is, like my knee hurts, it's allergies, right? And it's like, it's just all allergies, especially for anyone who lives in the South, particularly in Texas. It is like super rough down here with allergies for most people. And so like everything becomes about allergies because we just can't explain it, you know? And hopefully in the future we'll be like, oh yeah, it's just because you stood by, an incandescent light bulb for more than 30 minutes, whatever.
Right.
We'll learn something genius about it, or how we should have been drinking, water mixed with orange juice for a long time. Who knows? But something special. So I feel like it's the same way. Is that like exactly like you said? It's a catch-all, but it's amazing because it's a super unspecific catch-all that is directed towards us like it's specific. So it's like this secret, vague, evil villain that comes in the night to pretend like it is something really specific and very helpful for us. When it takes its cloak off, there's nothing there. It's like a ghost, and it's like as if nothing existed at all. And so we're like, wait, I thought this was the answer. No, there's nothing underneath it. And that can be just so frustrating, so frustrating. I think if we're truly honest with ourselves, I think most people across the board, if people are really honest with themselves, particularly in the classical world as well as any contemporary world, but if we're truly honest with ourselves, I think when we think about support, most people think about pushing more air. I think for most people, that's the gig. Push more air. And sometimes you get lucky and it works out for some people, and other people it doesn't work out so well for. Like people who are trying to sing with a heavier weight. Doesn't always work out so great. You don't need more air,
Yeah,
Um,
I have to tell another story. There's this speaker who I'm obsessed with, who I will not name, but he shared a little bit of his like vocal technique, and because he was trying to help people with stage presence, and
yeah.
he was like kind of talking like this, And he was like, see how my posture and my voice, blah, blah, blah. But if I stand like this, I speak from my diaphragm, then I sound like this. And I truly love this guy, so no insulting intended. But when he did that, I was like, oh, you increased weight, you elongated your vocal tract, and you increased your volume. Like, I literally could name every single one, which you can also do when your posture is like this. And I just like wanted to get him in a room and like sit him down and be like, hey, let's talk about the diaphragm. Yeah, so I do think it can be translated as pushing out air, but I in my experience, Michael, the vocal tract is just as big a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the other side to it. Oh, I think that's for most of us how will most people, I would think, tend to translate it that way.
I see.
But on the other side, in terms of how the person giving the information or the direction, I think they are sometimes looking for a larger vocal tract, a heavier weight. In most cases, I think those might be the things. I mean, is that what you're saying, or am I missing that? Are you saying for most people they also? Okay.
Yeah. I think this is what I'll clarify. I think the people who stumble upon support, who take an adjustment and they get it right, are normally the ones who increase their weight and elongate their vocal tract in those cases.
100%. And it just got lucky. Like it just happened to work magically. And then they're like, see, support. And then everyone's like, yeah, of course, yeah. But like you put the rest of the class up there, they have no idea how to do that. They can't make it happen, which is such a bummer. Like, how do you repeat that in a different song or something else? There's no ability to repeat because it's not specific. And when something's not specific, it's really difficult to repeat the steps. Just like you said, like, how does the guy know when he's speaking somewhere else? Does he always have to do this, That feels weird and super stiff, Yep. Can he do that sitting in a chair, relaxing, and still have that same sound,
Right.
Great point. Yeah.
So how does One Voice approach support? Where does support live in One Voice?
Yeah, so it was a question that I held on to for a while because as we started with the coordinations theory and then moved into the weight theory, et cetera, and other theories have come since then. And what happened is when that occurred, basically the entire bucket of singing that I knew I took and I just dumped out because I thought, well, none of this makes sense anymore because we've quite literally changed it from the ground up. So what does everything else mean on top of this, right? And one of those things was breathing. What is the efficacy of breathing? How important is breathing? Of course, people are like, breath is the life of the voice. Yes, that's true. But if you had no vocal cords, you also wouldn't have a voice. So, we could argue that they are equally as important in terms of producing sound. And so I think the way, as I started digging into that, the way I started to look at it was I started to say, okay, what is necessary so that I can produce sound? Okay, I have to have air to produce sound. Okay, well, if that's what I need, then I've got to see how this air, in most cases, can affect that sound. And what I started to find in most cases is that people, when they were singing a particular pitch with sustaining a specific weight, what they would generally do is most cases, it's seldom that people don't give it enough air, seldom, although it does happen, but in most cases, it's people pushing too much air, way too much air. And so if you're a singer out there and you feel, or a vocalist, and you find that your voice is usually like kind of raspy sounding or cloudy sounding, that's not because that was the way you were born. That's because of how your voice or how you've adapted producing sound. And so you'll just push too much air in most cases. And you don't have to push that much air to get a clear, crisp sound. And so that's generally where I started focusing. Okay, why is this happening? Why is this voice kind of distorting in terms of its raspiness? Why don't I hear what we call a balanced weight, meaning it's not raspy? Now look, I'm also not saying that a raspy sound is a bad sound. If you want to make that sound, you can. It's just another color, another choice. It's more work than a balanced weight, but you can still produce it. So, with that being said, as we went along with this with One Voice, I started digging into, okay, why is the sound like that? Why is the sound like that? Oh, interesting. That voice is making all these crunchy sounds. So why is it making those sounds? What I started to find is that most people just push way too much air. In fact, an analogy I use often with this is I use a balloon analogy. I'd like to share that if that's cool with you, Alex. The balloon analogy, you can try this at home. Imagine that you have a balloon. In fact, I literally just taught this today in a class. Hold a balloon, and you're going to hold it with 2 fingers. And you're going to have it just leak out just a little bit of air, just okay, just that much. And now what's going to happen is I'm going to come out of nowhere, and I'm going to grab the balloon. I'm going to squeeze it really hard. I'm going to slam down that balloon. Now, here's the deal. You cannot let go of all of the air out of that balloon. That's your goal. The problem is that your 2 fingers are not strong enough to hold back the amount of pressure that that balloon is now exerting against your fingers. So what do? Well, generally in most cases, you tend to squeeze and you start adding other muscles to help you hold back that air. And this is where a lot of people start getting all the little crunchies in their voice, all the little scraggly sounds, which is never fun, all those crunchy sounds going into their voice. And so so when people are experiencing those sensations, it's generally because there's just way too much air. And so what we have to do is we have to chill that out, pull back some of that air, have less air pushing against it. And once we do that, then you don't have to have all this musculature. You can just have the 2 fingers again, or in this case, just the vocal cords instead of a bunch of external muscles trying to help with that overbearing pressure. So this is where One Voice comes at it from that vantage point. But first and foremost, we're looking here, and then we're looking, all right, what's going on here that might be impeding this or not, giving this the appropriate amount of airflow. Yeah.
That's awesome. Shall we do another scenario with you as a One Voice?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Back to the scenario in the beginning. Okay. And now I'm a One Voicer. Is this
now
correct?
you're a One Voicer? Yeah. So you have the tools, you have the verbiage. All right. You ready?
Ready. I'm ready.
Hello, Michael. What are you going to be singing for us today?
Hi. I'm going to be singing "Amazing Grace." Amazing Grace. Okay. I've been working really hard on this. Okay. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch.
Michael?
Yes.
Can I give you a note?
Oh, yes, of course, yes.
Right. I just need more support from you. I need you to breathe from lower, breathe from your diaphragm. All right.
Okay. What did Alex tell me about this? Okay, yes. Oh, that's right. Creating for shit. Okay, I've got a voice. Okay, creation. Okay. Madam Director, what exactly in terms of sound are you aiming for? Are you looking for a clearer sound? Are you looking for a sound that sounds bigger, more like a Gaston sound?
Definitely clearer. I'm hearing a lot of air released because of the lack of support.
Okay.
So yes, I'm looking for a clearer sound, which will also give you more volume.
Got it. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. That's really helpful. One Voice brain. Okay, what I've got to do is I've got to increase my weight. So I've got to go from this really lightweight, and I've got to increase my weight a little bit. Okay. Let's try it again. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Support.
Support. Bam.
And scene.
That support.
Uh-oh.
And scene. Great. It's so great. If that were in a master class, right? If that were in a master class, then everyone would be like, oh, yes, support. Yes, support. Right. No. So clear what the change is. Yeah, it's so clear.
Yeah.
So great. And if I could know that only, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, please.
If I could only know that, if I could only know that it was an increase in intensity, then the beautiful thing is I know what to do. But if I don't know what to do and I don't know what that adjustment is, then I can't make it. If I don't know the adjustment, then I can't make it. And so I've got to know that it's a weight change And so in that case, most people, if we were to give them an adjustment, they would sing like that initially. And you immediately are like, all right, cool, we got to be able to increase your weight. And then everything's going to make so much more sense for you. And everyone's going to be like, you're amazing. But all it was just a change in weight, So lovely.
I'm also going to point out what you did, which is you clarified the sound that I was after, which led me to say I want it clearer, louder. So by clearer, you knew she wants less air. Let's increase the air. Louder, you knew increase the volume as well. So then you knew exactly what to do.
And if you had said shaping, I'm sorry, if you had said I want it to sound more like Gaston, what would have changed for me?
Your vocal tract would have gotten larger.
Yeah. So and everyone listening to that, she makes such a great point of me trying to clarify that, of saying, did you want like a Gaston sound? And she's like, no, I just want it clear and louder, which means suddenly I have to go, amazing. Just keep it amazing grace, same shape, just different way.
Exactly.
Super cool. Great point, Alex. Great point.
Great. You said.
Did we just?
Huh?
I said, did we just dominate that? Did we
I think
just,
we did. I think we did. Do you have any other thoughts on support before we move on to our question segment?
My last thought or challenge really for our one voicers is to say, don't settle for an easy language just to move on. Be specific. And specific takes energy and work, but man, it's worth it. It's always worth it in the long run. Especially if you're you're one voicer and like people are asking for help or whatever. Man, fight that urge. Fight that urge to be like, yeah, you just need support. What does it even mean? Get back in there and say, all right, you know what? I need you to increase your weight. Here's what weight is. Weight sounds like this. Be more specific. Be specific.
That was great. Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. All right, shall we move on to our question segment of the show?
Questions!
All right, so here's our question segment of the show. Today we have a question from James, and it is, what does One Voice have in common with the traditional world of singing? I've been watching One Voice live, and I love it. Thank you, James. But a lot of what I've noticed was how One Voice is different from the traditional world of singing. This is an awesome question. And Michael, I'm going to say a few things, and I'm going to shove it over to you because you're Michael Maresca. But I think we talk a lot about what's different because of the coordination theory and weight theory. Everything is different. It feels everything One Voice is based on is different from where we've come from in the world of singing, which has created this movement and this new language, and has created so many opportunities for people to make sounds they never thought they could before, and it's awesome. The thing, I really racked my brain on this, and the thing I think is the same is the sounds that we're after and the end result that we're after. Even if we're using different language to get there, someone might say support, we might say increase your weight, we're both after that same sound. And the thing that One Voice has changed is simply how we get there and how we communicate about it. Michael, your thoughts?
I think you nailed it on the head. And James, yes, love it. Thank you for the questions. You're awesome, James. Shout out. Shout out to James. So yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it on the head. You know, the thing that we talk about, we often talk about being different because, like you said, foundationally, because of the coordinations theory, you know, we've always, in the world of singing, we've always defined the voice based on where it resonates. Chest voice resonates my skull, resonates my head for head voice. But in One Voice land, we don't define the voice by that anymore because we use the coordinations theory. And the coordinations theory speaks to specific coordinations in the larynx, coordinations of the muscles that allow us to have access to different ranges of notes, which foundationally changes everything else because it's at the very, very, very base of singing. Mm-hmm. And so when you change that, it starts to change a bunch of other things. Not to elevate it on this level, but perhaps I think it's a good comparison in that when we started to realize or recognize that the Earth, that the universe did not rotate around the Earth, we realized that, we realized, oh wait, actually we're going around the sun and everything's not coming around us. A geocentric concept is what it's called. Once we realized that, that theory, when it first came out, was like, that's, who are you, Satan worshiper, you know? But then we started to realize, wait a minute, okay, oh, whoa, if that's true, then that means the stars don't revolve around us. That means the stars are something else. And they're doing something else. And so it created this like snowball effect of changing all the other stuff we had known up until that point. And so that is much of what the coordinations theory and the weight theory, but particularly the coordinations theory, has done, is it has taken all of that snowball, which is really exciting. What Alex says about it basically, the similarity, I think you nail it on the head. I think it's exactly right. We have the same aim as everyone else. I think one of the differences, or I would like to add to that, another difference in that way, is that the similarity is, yes, we all are going for, in many ways, similar sounds. I think what's exciting is that there's a lot less judgment on the sounds that are trying to be made, because in our world, they're just sounds. And the question becomes, how do you then achieve that sound? With what little recipe of weight and vocal tract shaping and non-vocal cord textures do you produce the sound that you want to produce? No longer is it, well, a mid-weight is the healthy weight. It's not. It's just a mid-weight. It can be just as healthy to sing in a heavyweight or a lightweight. It doesn't matter. They're just weights. And I think that's something that's really interesting about what the weight theory offers, as well as the coordinations theory. It also offers the idea that everyone of the same predominant sex has the ability to do the same thing that anyone else within that sex does. That's unbelievable. That's truly unbelievable. Yeah, not something that has really existed before, and that's so exciting. So that's what I would just add to it. Yeah, I love that question. That's a really cool question.
It really is.
Anything else? Am I missing anything there, Alex, that we should
I
add?
keep racking my brain to find other similarities, and I truly can't. I think it's the sound thing for the most part.
You know what? I'm thinking about. I'll add this last thing. I think another thing that we're all in aim of in the world of singing is we're also in aim of longevity. For anyone who's training singers, in most cases, we're in the game of longevity, of helping people have a long career. And so we're also looking at, what are the healthiest ways of doing this? What will give you the most longevity? In One Voice world, because we took all the stuff and we threw it out, we started questioning everything. I mean, literally everything. So it was, is it healthy to raise your soft palate? Do you need to raise your soft palate to have a healthy sound? Well, no. When we think about creating the concept of creating versus shaping from the world of One Voice, the larynx is here, the soft palate's way up here. How does this have anything to do with the production of sound that's down here? In fact, I make sound here first, and then it comes up and it might bounce around and hit my soft palate, etc. So little things like that are all over the world of singing. I mean, the world of singing is loaded, chock full of that stuff. And so it just kind of opens up the world to say, what is it? What is happening? Yeah.
Awesome. Oh. James, thank you so much for all your great questions. You are a true super nerd, and we love it. Truly, truly love it.
Super nerd, One Voice. Love it.
Michael, thank you so much for digging into support today, for translating that word. That was super, super awesome. And reminder to submit your questions@singonevoice.com, or DM us at any of our platforms, Facebook, Instagram, or here on YouTube. And next week, we're doing, Michael, your first singer study.
Yes!
And we're going to be studying singer Kelly O'Hara, Broadway's sweetheart. Yes. So same time, Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. CT, 7:30 p.m. ET on YouTube Live. And we will see you guys there. Michael, thanks so much.